Welcome to the Got Her Back podcast. I'm so happy we have Denesha here today. Denesha is like one of our favorite people ever. One of our favorite girls.
So we're not a tripod. This is
our little fourth
yeah
part of our group. So I'm so happy that you drove all the way from Oklahoma.
I'm so happy to be here.
How was your drive this morning?
It was good.
What were you listening to?
Let's see. The drive down, I listened to a lot of Glorilla.
yes,
a lot of Meg Thee Stallion and Beyonce. You know, that's just kind of how I like to start my days.
It makes you drive faster, doesn't it?
It does, and it just kind of just takes away like the boring part of the driving. So yeah.
How far was that drive?
It's about 2.5 hours. Yeah, about 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
2.5 hours of jamming. Dancing,
I love a good road trip by myself.
Trap music in the car by myself.
Yeah, girl.
I love it because you can listen to anything you want. You can call whoever you want. You can get whatever snacks. Nobody wants them. Like I like a good road trip.
FBGM.
Yeah.
Yes, honey.
Hashtag FBGM.
I really forgot what that meant until just now. Like I really I'd always go to that to chat with y'all, but I was like not even thinking like. That's the best group name
We'll
ever.
always have Vegas. And
always have
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
We will not tell you what that means, but you can try to figure it out.
Good trip.
Girl, we slept. Y'all slept. You make
Don't tell them that.
Don't be telling all our secrets.
I'm surprised Megan didn't hit them slots. Or did you?
We tried. Yeah, we did.
Hitting thing that time.
Yeah. We tried. I mean, I'm the cooler, so you can't do slots with me because I will cool you down real fast. She'll get hot and I'll come cool it off.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a gambler. Not good at it.
I like gambling people's money, not my own.
Yeah.
I could do that. I win when it's not my money.
There you go.
Hey, a win's a win, baby.
I'll be your sugar mama.
You came down here kidless.
Yeah.
I did. I came down here kidless.
We're having a girls' weekend.
So excited. So needed.
Maria's bailing on us. No, I totally
I'm
understand.
choosing homecoming over Usher.
We did plan this a year ago, and we didn't have the kids' calendar. So, just like I told you, I was like, I would always choose my kids. So don't feel bad.
understand.
Yeah.
I just don't want to hear about it. Y'all
We're gonna send you videos all night.
Y'all could create a separate FBG.
No.
Just take the M out.
No separate group. It stays the same.
You'll be getting
FOMO
all
will
the
be
real-time
real.
photos.
Stays the same.
I'm a Photoshop me in.
Do it.
Yes, you Photoshop you in.
Yeah.
Just don't be wearing my dress. So I'm really excited that you're here, and I love that you're going to be talking about some parenting with us. One of our most stressful and favorite things ever, parenting.
Yes, it is.
How many kids you got?
So I have two beautiful daughters. I have Cadence, who is 14, and I have Lennox, who is 7.
Going on 21.
Yeah, probably going on 42, my age.
She is very sassy. She is your twin.
Very,
for sure.
very sassy for sure.
And while Lennox is a freaking bomb, like she's like the biggest personality, the best dancer I've ever seen. Like we're going to talk about Miss Katie today.
Yes.
Sister, I think I've told you this story, but let's go back to the day you were in labor with Katie. Okay.
Yes.
It was a snowstorm. Do you remember?
I remember.
You were at the
14 years
hospital.
ago.
I remember.
Yeah. And I, for whatever reason, we had gotten a rental car and it was like a Suburban, I think. And we didn't drive like our own car there, right? And so we were there and playing cards and, you know, like, and they just kept saying like, okay, your labor is going to take longer. So some people wanted to go back to the house. So my butt was like, I'll drive us. I got it. And so, you know, I get home, get everybody that wants to go back home there, come back. I'm fine. But then when it's time to be like, okay, ding, 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 time for you to go into labor, I had to go back and get them, right? The craziest thing happened. I think I've told you this, but maybe I haven't. So I get out on the roads, y'all, not even like out of the parking lot of the hospital, and I'm at a light, and the freaking Suburban just fishtails and goes sideways, and I'm like stuck. I'm stuck on ice and snow. And like, I'm like doing everything that I know to do to like get it to move. Next thing you know, I hear two guys on bicycles, like bicycles that you go race on. We're out on these snow roads. I almost think it was like God and two angels. I'm not kidding
Angels
you.
on a
like,
10 speed.
Why were they like literally?
Dirt
Why
devil.
were they
Dirt
riding
angels.
their bikes in the ice and the snow? It didn't make sense. And they were like, "Ma'am, do you need some help?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they rocked my car. They got off their bikes. They rocked the thing and got me unstuck to where I could keep going to go get And so I was like, so the whole time I'm like 10 and 2-ing it, like, oh my God. And so I got there. Got everybody that wanted to be, everybody to get picked up and then bring them back. But yeah, it was the craziest thing. Like,
Did you know that?
I think I remember her telling me that, but that says a lot.
In the midst of all that,
I know,
yeah.
and that says a lot while we're just still so connected.
yes,
Never,
yes.
just always connected. She's just always there.
I
So
love how
for-
close that y'all have always
know.
been.
I know.
So
I
You would
know.
think y'all were real
married to
sisters.
my ex's brother. So
Yeah. Yep.
she was my sister in love, but now she's just my sister.
That's it, and always will
Sister
be.
from another mister.
Now
Always
she's
will.
mine.
I know, and yours too.
FBG.
So, yes, I love our relationship. It's the best. It really is.
I was telling Gabe about you last night because he was like, okay, tell me what y'all are going to be talking about, And so I was telling him like, oh, you still haven't got to meet her, but like, I really want you to meet her. She's the best. Like, you're so smart.
Gabe
and-
texted me last night during the
sweet.
concert. He goes,
Did?
"Bitch, are you at the concert?" He did. Yeah, I was like,
But he says it. But he says it more like, bitch.
It wasn't that.
I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, because I came outside. I was like, oh, I forgot to tell you, Meg's at the concert right now. So she's given, I said, so we are going to, this is our plan because she's already knows like what time he comes on and this and that. And he's like, I didn't even tell me he texted you, but that makes that's totally makes sense. Yeah. And then he said, he was like, oh, I really want to meet Denesha. And then he goes, but I just really feel like I'm missing Megan and I just need some Meg time right now. And I was like, I know. I was like, I'm very excited about this weekend because I feel like we just
too.
haven't had any
Yeah, like
time,
girls'
you know?
night.
It's always the
So,
best time.
Maria, sorry. We're going to miss you. Sorry to keep talking about how awesome it's going
I'm
to
just
be.
gonna put my that group chat on mute.
But hey, if you decide you want to like sneak off
in.
and like meet us after or something,
That drive to Dallas. Can you imagine driving to Dallas alone at night?
girl, yes.
Hey, hey, look, why is my boo going to be our Uber driver? He's going to go drop us off and
remember
then
you
pick us up.
telling me that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
dropping
like,
us
last
off,
night, he's
picking
like
us up.
planning it out. He's like, okay, babe, I'm going to be right here to get you tomorrow night.
He's
And
the best.
I was like, oh, he's so sweet.
That is cute.
I know.
That is sweet. So tell us more. So, okay, after you had Katie, after the 10-speed situation.
Yeah, I know.
So was Katie like, Cadence, was she planned? Like, how long had y'all been together?
So me and Vince have been together probably about 9 months, married about 9 months, but we've been together for years. Was she planned? Absolutely not. Was it okay? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, she was not planned. No, she wasn't. And now I think about it, I'm like, do people really plan for babies? Like,
I think
Yeah,
some
sometimes.
people,
some people do. I know
planners.
some people
I
do.
never did.
I know. I get it. I know some people do, but no, she was not planned, but she is the best blessing ever.
Yeah.
The biggest blessing that we have, and also the probably, I wouldn't say difficult, but I would say
Challenging.
Challenging. That's a good word. Challenging.
Okay.
Challenging. Most definitely, she's not difficult, but she is very challenging.
How old were we? But how old was Katie when we figured out, like when she got her diagnosis? So my niece is autistic and she also has another condition.
She also has speech apraxia.
And explain to us what that is, sister.
So that is just, it's a speech disorder. It's where kids can't necessarily form their words can't necessarily speak well. On top of being autistic, we also deal with that challenge as well. So it can be very, very challenging, And
Were there any things that you noticed, like when Katie was like just being in the home with her? Because I didn't notice that. There things that I noticed would be like at 2 and 3, like when she just, she just wouldn't speak. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so that was just like the first thing. But I mean, I didn't really notice anything other than that, really. And then she kind of got picky with foods. That was kind of the two things I noticed. How about you? You being in the
and
house?
I would say probably the same. I would say probably the same things because, this was our first child, so we wasn't used to, we didn't have anyone to compare it to, I think the next oldest cousin was probably like Taryn, and he was maybe 7, I think. He was older. And one of the ways that we kind of started watching her was like, she didn't do a lot of like the normal autistic symptoms or things that people notice, like stimming, walking on tippy toes, flapping hands, hands flapping.
What's stimming?
So stimming is just kind of like
rocking.
like a form of just kind of like like rocking or just kind of their own thing. You know what I mean? To try to get through a situation. She wasn't doing any of that. It was literally just her communication or not, saying hi or bye, those type of things. And we didn't really notice until, how you go to the doctor and you do their well child checkup and they give you that list and they're like, is your child doing this? And it was just so weird because I will look at that list and I will be like, no, she's not doing any of this. The social part, like the physical motor part, she was doing that, but the social things she wasn't doing. And I was like, but I don't want to say she's not doing it because I know I have this child development degree and I know that like kids develop at their own pace. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to take it as, it's something wrong with her. I just want to take it as Cadence is just taking her time and being Cadence and doing what she's going to do. So we kind of got more like advice about it. We end up seeking, I can't remember who we end up talking to. Of course, the doctor, like your pediatrician, and tell you all the things you need to know. And we end up getting a self-evaluation done. And then that's when they diagnosed her with autism. So
I feel like she like 4 maybe.
She was probably about maybe
3.
I would say 3.
How old was she? Okay, so me and my Katie have a special bond.
They really
always
do.
have. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. I don't know. It's just something like
I've already cried right now.
You
So
guys
y'all
cried
excuse
earlier.
me.
I know, but so I remember I was at your house, and one night we were just going to take the dog. You had a dog at the time, I think. We were taking the dog on a walk, and I'm like, hey. And when I would come, I would just like in my mind, I'd be like, this is stressful for them, like her and Vince. I just want to give them a break, So I would like try to take Katie, like to Target or like we'd go do something or take her to McDonald's or, take her to Tulsa for the weekend. Or in this occasion, it was like me and Taryn were going to take the dog with Katie and we're going to go on a walk. And she was probably 4 or 5, I'm going to say 4 or 5. And she didn't speak, like she was like mute. Right. And so I don't know, one night it just out of nowhere, like, I was like making funny, like, me and my jokes. I was just like, I can't remember what that dog's name was, but I just kept saying like, we're going to the park. And so then she, all of a sudden out of nowhere, y'all, she just starts repeating everything that I was saying, like everything. So I called my mother-in-law on FaceTime and I'm like, oh my God, look, when she's the one that told me, Megan, record it for Vince and Denesha. So I got her to say, like, if I said, I love you, and she'd go, I love you. And I got her to say,
she ever
like,
done that to you?
Mommy and Daddy. And
she had done it to you?
No.
This was the first time.
Not to Megan.
Yeah, it was just like the first time out of nowhere. So I got her to like tell her like, I had her saying Chica, which was like our mother-in-law's dog. And I had her saying like, Mommy, I love you. Daddy, I love you. And I had her like saying all these things and I took it back.
Were you freaking out, Megan?
Yeah, I was. And I like had the recording. I'm like, you guys, look, she talked, And so it
What
was
did
just
she
like,
think?
I wonder if it was because of your voice or the way you were saying it.
I don't
She
know.
loves Megan.
Yeah. Her and Megan has like a different type of bond. Like I don't know. I can't really describe it. Like I can't. Like Megan can get her to do things, certain things. She'll talk to her. She'll do it, and I'm like, that's fine. Call your Aunt Meg, you know. But at that moment, it felt good. But I also knew that it wasn't like, I don't know how to explain this. Children with special needs are just, they're in their own world, and you have to kind of fit in their world. You know what I mean? And you can't expect things, like I hate to say like consistently expect things because you don't know what you're going to get sometimes. And with her, it's the thing about Cadence is she's super, super smart, really smart. But it's just her verbal communication is not as good. Her verbal communication, that's what we struggle with a lot. And we have sought resources. It's just difficult because we deal with, like, we have this other child that's, in dance, and we're taking her to dance 3 or 4 days a week. And it's so sad because I'm taking my other child to therapy, you know what I mean? 3 to 4 days a week. So you kind of lose that, like, it's not grief, but it's kind of, you kind of feel a way like, well, why can't I take her to soccer or, volleyball or something 3 days a week? Why do I have to take her to speech? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just something, like, to always tell people, like, check on your friends who have kids, period. But really your friends who have special needs kids, because they are dealing with a lot, and there's times where we feel like no one really understands what we're going through. Even though we can say it, just still, people sometimes just don't understand what you're going through. So
it's kind of crazy, like, just to watch, like, from a distance, like, the breakthroughs. Like, I can remember us being on Tulsa one time, and, like, Katie was acting a fool, and I finally, like, and she was. And
Katie
so
was acting
she was.
That's about right.
But I can say that because I'm like, I realized
Katie acting like a fool.
Girl, she'll yell at your butt. I mean, she's a whole teenager, but this time, like, I figured it out. So OCD runs on, like, the Hall side of the family, right? And so, like, some of them don't even want you to touch their plate or touch their food. And so, like, with Spencer and, Lennox, like, they want, like, if she had some cereal or she had some Cheez-Its, like, they want some too. So, Denesha is getting on to Katie, like, you could share that with the girls. And she was just flipping out. And it just, like, dinged. I'm like, because she can't tell us, you know what I mean? Or she can write it on her iPad, but she probably doesn't even know she's OCD. I'm like, sister, she don't want any of them girls touching her food. That's what's wrong with her. Leave her alone. She was OCD. And so that's what was wrong with her. She was getting pissed off because
and
Denesha was making her share her Doritos with the girls. And I'm like, y'all give my baby these Doritos and don't touch it. And
y'all, I'm so sorry, off the side, but that just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
My Aunt Maya is OCD, and I always get on her about sharing her food.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Because it'll just, like, make them it'll make them freak out.
Yeah.
Like Spencer, and I mean, she's not even anything. She's autistic. No, she's not autistic. She's OCD. And her butt, if you touch her plate, like, Addie's daughter at Disney, she slapped her hand, like,
oh my God.
Like, bitch, don't touch my plate.
Don't touch my lunchbox.
Yeah.
Don't touch my lunchbox.
Yeah, don't touch.
We know
what happens if you touch a lunchbox.
I am learning something today.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's just for all kids. I mean,
For,
you know what I mean?
And in certain ages, they don't know that and they can't communicate that. They just know they're pissed, So they don't know, and then add the layer that she can't communicate on top of that.
Yeah.
It's probably just frustrating
And
for her.
Katie is smart. Like, Katie, you can ask her questions and she'll answer you. Like, either you can text her and she'll text you back, or we use her iPad a lot, Another funny story about Katie. Remember that time we went to that? I mean, I got a lot of them, but remember that time we went to that Mexican food restaurant and it was in Oklahoma City?
Oh my goodness. It was Abuelo's.
Yeah. And there was, like, a shooting or whatever. Like, y'all were there? I don't know, but we were leaving.
There was a shooting?
Yeah. Like at the restaurant over. I think it was the same time. Or was it a different time? I don't know. But anyways, we were leaving this restaurant. We get in, and every time I'm in town, she always wants to ride with me. In whatever car I'm in, she's coming in my car. So I get her and put her in the very back, she gets in, and I'm, like, telling her to get her seatbelt on or whatever, and the music starts playing, and it was like hip hop, hooray, ho, hey, and all of a sudden you hear Katie start singing, and I'm, like, trying to fumble to get my phone, and I'm, like, trying to get her so I can record it, and then she just stopped and wouldn't do it again. But and then she started laughing, and it was just, like, the funniest thing. It's like she knew, like, I'm gonna give you a little bit, but I'm not gonna give you any more.
Don't you record me because you're not gonna get it.
Right. No proof.
So, Denesha, what's your background?
So my background is I have a master's degree in family and child studies.
Now, that was before.
That was before us having the diagnosis of Caden's been autistic. Yes.
I think it's just different. Like, with, when it's your own child, you never want to give up on hope on them. You know what I mean? Because I would talk to her and I'd be like, sister, like, when I took that semester off of school and I worked, and it was, like, with kids with severe autism, like, that stemmed, and some, like, use sign language, and I could kind of see some things, but I wasn't a doctor, right? But so I would just be like, well, sister, what do you think? And she would just say, like, I feel like you were almost kind of in denial a bit, you know, for a while. And so it just was like, you know, and I'm like, well, just don't push her. Like when she's ready to figure it out or whatever, or if she doesn't advance, then we'll figure it out. Like it's going to be okay. I mean, it was difficult. It was difficult watching from the outside too, like only like wanting help and then like trying to figure out like what the future was. And then like the stress on your marriage, like how was that?
That's what I wanted to know.
I would say it's a little harder. I mean, I would say it's not really stressful on the marriage, but it does hinder things. You know what I mean? Hinder things, especially when she was younger. You know, like us being able to do certain things, you know, date night, you know, who's going to keep our kid. You know, we don't like to ask people to keep our kids, especially not who wants, because our family has always been very supportive, but still, you know, like we just didn't like to put people in situations. I will say one thing that was stressful is just the like trying to come together to figure out ways that we both agree with parenting her and discipline, like being able to discipline her as well.
Being on the same page.
Being on the same page. And just here recently, I was the one that was doing all of like the driving to therapy, taking the doctor's appointments. And now since I have a new role, like a new job, Vince does a lot of that now. So it's just different. I feel like, you know,
I feel like you're in a groove now. I think early on, the stress was probably like the outsider, I guess, you know, looking in. Of course, I didn't live with you, but just as much as we talk and as close as we are. I think it just was like finding a groove, you know, because look, with Katie, it's just like you just never know. Like we can go to a restaurant, and I can remember one time like some wild orange carpet bothered her. Like we were in a restaurant and I could tell it was the carpet. And so like I went and walked the restaurant and found another area. And like, I'm like told the waitress, I'm like, we just need to get up and move. Like we need to move over here. Like for whatever reason, she doesn't like this carpet. And if she doesn't like something, like she's going to let you have it.
When you moved, did it make a difference? And how did you know that it was the carpet?
I could just like, I don't know. It's like almost have a sense with her.
Like,
and like, you know, and sometimes I just kind of look around and I know her so well. I can just kind of, same thing you were at Spencer's birthday party this year. I think it was the DJ, and she had never really like screamed or yelled at me ever. And so I almost kind of got my feelings hurt this year. I was like, damn, like, you know, she's a full-fledged teenager over here, you know, because I was like going to take her in my office, and she loves Dr. Pepper, right? Like I know what her favorite things are. So I was like, I'm going to go take her and sneak her and get her a Dr. Pepper. She wasn't having it. Like she was like screaming at me. She didn't want to get up off the couch. So I was like, okay, cool. You just sit here. If you're fine right here, then, you know, we're just going to stay right here. And I think it was the music. It was loud, but she didn't want to move from that area. She wanted to stay right there. So you just have to find like, where's her comfort spot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you were saying earlier, Denesha, that you have to find ways to fit into her world versus, you know, just kind of being integrated in her world every single day. So have you ever found yourself like that, like you getting in your feelings about it because you really want that connection and you're not able to get it sometimes? Like, does your feelings ever get hurt because, you know, and do you kind of learn how to not take it personal, or are there times where you still can get your feelings hurt?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like with any other like typical teenage girl.
Because my kids hurt my feelings all the time.
Yeah, or, you know, any other child. Yes, my feelings get hurt, but I also have to remember, you know, I'm fitting into her world. You know, she's not fitting into my world, which is the difference between me and Lennox, you know, and us and Lennox. But I think that I also have to take in consideration that, you know, her behaviors are not, I'm trying to think how to say this, like her behaviors are not, she doesn't necessarily know, you know, what she's doing a lot.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. It's not, it's literally, it's not personal. You know, she's just trying to survive or communicate or make it, you know. So I try very hard to just kind of pull myself out of it and just make sure, like, we keep her first in it, you know, and making sure, like, we're accommodating her. And it's very hard. It's very hard. Because, like I say, I struggle with, you know, I know I'm about to cry. I don't know.
It's okay. You're fine. That's totally.
But I struggle with, you know, just there's times that, and Megan knows this, I struggle with support too at times because my mom was a big support for us. And she did a lot for us, and she did a lot with Cadence. you know, and I'm like thinking now, and I don't know if I mentioned this to Megan, but I'm like, are her behaviors so bad now because she's realizing her Nana's not coming back? You know, she's processing that. And so now, like, we're having difficulty now at school where she's becoming, like, aggressive. And Cadence has never been aggressive. She's never been that autistic child that's aggressive because most autistic children are aggressive, you know, and she's never been that aggressive child. And that's one thing that I will always be like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. She's not hitting us because she wants some chicken nuggets right now, you know? So, but I think that one thing that, you know, I just struggle with is, like, just, you know, that support that I had with my mom because she was actually like the person that understood. And when I say understood, I'm not saying that everybody else doesn't understand, but she was in the scene a lot helping us, if that makes sense.
Do you feel comfortable sharing your mom?
Yeah.
Like your mom's story or,
I know.
You know, just like what you're speaking of since people don't really know.
Yeah, so my mom was a very, very big support to us. We lost her about 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years.
I can't believe it's been 4 years.
I know, from COVID. She was probably, when I say our number one, like, rock.
It's your mama.
She was that.
She passed away from COVID.
Passed away from COVID. And she was really, really a big part of my kids' life. When I say she kept my kids, she kept my kids. She would put Cadence up from school every day. She would take Cadence to therapy. She just was there.
She was your lifeline.
She was our lifeline. And I'm not saying everybody else isn't, but it's just that it's different. It's different.
It's your mama.
Yeah, it's hard. And I'm starting to think
you and your
like,
mom were so close.
We were so close. So close. And I'm starting to think like if that's stemming her behaviors a little bit, you know, and I have never really thought about that because we don't talk about it as much with her, you know, and we should, you know, where Lennox is like praying every night for her to come back and I'm like, oh, stop, you know. You know, so I think, you know, it's just that it's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult.
If you wanted to have that conversation with Katie, how would you do it?
I think that's a good question. One of the things I would want her to know is that, you know, like I have already said, that we're fitting into her world. You know, I would want her to know that. I would want her to understand that it's unconditional love, that, you know, everyone around her loves her, and that we are here to just help her communicate the best way that we can. I mean, I think one thing that, and I kind of said this earlier, one thing that special needs parents and families need is support, you know, and I would say one of the biggest support, of course, is family. You know, our family is a very, very big support. I will also say our school, the school that she attends, is a very, very big support. They're really good with resources. They support us. We've recently been having some issues with her behavior, and school has been amazing with accommodating that and trying to figure things out. And then just finding people also that, like, one thing that she's in now, she's in speech, and then she's in a social group. And the social group has helped tremendously with her vocabulary, with her speaking, with her communication. That has helped tremendously. And I would say, like, I just want her to know that, like, it's not her fault. You know, I don't know whose fault it is because I don't.
It's nobody's fault.
You know, because people always say, well, maybe it's the shots. You know, maybe it was the.
No.
Come on,
Nothing
now.
you did.
I don't know. I did something in labor
No.
or took too much Tylenol. You know, it's not her fault. And I think that.
It's not your fault either.
I know,
sister.
I know.
It's not,
And it's just-
not your fault. And people that say those types of things to you, like, fuck them. Because people said that kind of crap to me. I'm going to give a 20 for that. You know, like whenever I lost Tristan, it's not your fault. I don't want you to carry that shame or guilt because
that
none
something
of
that you carry?
Nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about it a lot. I think about it like.
Do you think you did things differently?
I mean, I do. I think
when
about
you were
that.
pregnant
And then
with
I
Dennis?
think about, like, I don't know. It's just, I mean, because it is a form of, to me, it is a form of grief.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not that type of grief. You know, I
Right.
do want to say that. And my therapist actually was the one that kind of introduced me to that thought a couple years ago when I was dealing with trauma therapy. She also, you know, said, you know, well, you also have to remember too, like, you're kind of grieving the loss of your daughter, you know, not the loss of her, but the loss
Yeah.
of her being
A normal kid.
a normal
thought of
kid, a
that.
typical kid, the thought of that. And I never really thought about that until she told me that. And now I'm like, well, shoot, you
It's
know,
so true.
it's so true, you know, because, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to talk about because it's like, will she be that girl that can drive off in a Jeep in a couple years? You know
That's
what
my
I mean?
next question. My next question is, what do you think the future looks like, and what do you? I'm gonna.
Because it's
Like,
it's okay. She's I promise, Kaden.
We have
When she
hopes and
gets to
dreams.
like, say she's finished with school and everything, do you just take it day by day at that moment and how she feels comfortable, or?
Yeah, we pretty much take it day by day. And that's kind of just what you have to do. You have to take it day by day. Like you can't, it's one where like I can't plan.
Yeah,
and be
you
like,
can't make plans.
She's gonna, go to OU or, whatever.
She could surprise you, sister.
Oh yeah, she most definitely can. And I think she will. I think once we get just a little bit more things in place with her, I think it's really gonna be the peak of cadence. Like it's gonna be this girl that, not that she's meant to be, because she's meant to be who she is now.
Yeah.
But this girl that is like talking back, feisty, and like, let's get up, let's go to Sephora.
The one that's in there that you can't hear what she's thinking.
You know what I mean? And I think that she's going to be there here soon because we're just working on some things. Hopefully we can get some things in place.
And can we just talk about how pretty she is?
Yes.
I can't even look at her like face. I'm like, she's like stunning. Like
Denesha's
she's
dad and brother
perfect.
are tall
She's
and
so
skinny,
tall.
and
She's
same
so
skin
pretty.
color.
Like
is.
I could stare at her all day.
Yeah.
The one thing I love about you and your family is, I mean, I've seen this growing up. I've been around, kids who have special disabilities. Some families give up on their kids. Like don't even get them dressed. Don't, really care about how they look, but they're still people and you're feeding into her. You're making sure, and she looks fabulous all the time, putting her in all the activities that you can. And like what you said, like speech therapy, like you're giving her all the tools that she needs, that when she gets older, it's going to help her.
Yeah.
She's lucky to have you.
You know?
Yeah. And I appreciate everyone. I mean, I appreciate our family. I mean, Megan was sending like the
drops.
yes, the drops. She was sending those. I mean, it's just the little things people do like that, and it's literally those little things they don't and Megan has even made the comment like, well, I'm going to help. I don't know, but we got to figure out like Katie in a couple years, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help her find find us, somewhere she can go or take care of her. Like what we're going to do,
And that's the
she
one thing
always
you
mentions.
gotta love about Megan.
I know you gotta love.
She's always
about
like
her.
10
I
steps
know,
ahead.
and I love it, and I think that one thing that we do have is support, and it's family support, and I love that. And Cadence, and like you said, Cadence has everything. She doesn't want for anything, and that's one good thing that I like. I don't seclude her from that. Like she's a typical 14-year-old girl walking around with a Lulu bag, and,
cell phone,
a
an
cell
iPad.
phone, a Louis Vuitton backpack, a little backpack and stuff. Like
Her hair is
she's
always perfect.
Always perfect. So that's one thing that, I try to make sure she understands is that she might feel different. She might seem different in her head, but she's not different.
No,
You know what I mean? She's not. You're not.
Do you think it would have been a little bit easier for you if you were prepared, like before she was born? Because there are testing that you can do. I got it done with Maya when I was pregnant with her, not because I felt like something, but they said that they found something in her brain while she was in my stomach.
She had a normal pregnancy, so she didn't have any reason. And for autism, I don't think there's tests for that, like when they're in utero.
Those are for
Yeah.
like Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I don't
like Down syndrome or genetics.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you would prepare for that because you don't know the like where it will be on the spectrum or what that's going to look like.
And because the autism is so
Different.
Broad.
It's very broad, and the spectrum can look different for every kid. You'll have a kid over here with autism and a kid over here, and they're going to be two different kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think the only best way is to prepare is to like I said earlier, you fit into their world. You know what I mean? They're not fitting into our world.
That's the best way I've ever heard
fit
it
into their
described.
world.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you have to, because you have to like Megan said, the orange carpet made her mad. Guess what? We all got up, moved to another table. You know what I mean?
You're accommodating, and
Yeah,
you're
you
like,
accommodate.
you're literally pivoting every day, all day, like trying to
and she
figure
can
out.
only eat certain things. So it's like when
Yeah.
we go eat as a family, it's like we have to think about, you know, like,
she's
okay, well,
gonna
Katie's going to have fries, so we're going somewhere, or she's going to eat noodles,
Yep.
or, you know, so we go somewhere where we know that Katie's going to eat some hot wings or
Mm-hmm.
something that there's just like, you know, we just kind of go in a rotation of those things, and we don't go anywhere unless we know Katie can have something to eat there. Like, that's just what we do. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, those are the choices that we make.
It's awesome that y'all have always been like that for you and for her, just because, you know, some family units probably don't have that.
Yeah.
So
I know, I appreciate it. I do.
this was
Really-
a
no,
good
no, I have to say,
conversation.
I have learned so much just from like your experience.
Listening.
You know, I didn't know if I think I shared it with you guys. Maya has neurofibromatosis, and it's a brain disorder. It's neurological. And so I remember when she was a baby, she always had these, I call them her giraffe spots, and I love it. And the doctor said, those are signs of NF1. So we've been having testing for her ever since she was a baby. And they did eye tests on her, and they were like, well, we're not going to rule it out. I mean, because she's, you know, we don't see anything. But then when she got into that accident, they were like, well, let's go ahead and do genetic testing. And so it turned out that she does have NF1, and her brain works differently. So she's OCD. And now I'm thinking, like, she's very opinionated about where she wants to go out to eat. And we argue about it all the. I'm like, we just had that. And now, like, you guys are like,
Yeah, but you just are
sharing
going
all
to,
that.
you're
and
just
I'm
going to have to like,
man, just kind of like what you said. fit
it'll make
into
your
her
life
world.
easy. Yeah.
world.
Make
Adapting.
your life easier.
But
Adapting,
my question
accommodating.
is, how can you fit into her world when you have the other kids? You know, that's my biggest
and I
struggle.
think that's a good question, and that's hard. But but one thing that we do is, it's so crazy because how Megan said she has that connection with Cadence. With Cadence, Lennox has the same connection. Lennox will tell Cadence to go do something, or hey, go say that. She'll do it. And with like me and Vince, she's like, no. And it's so crazy because I think just making sure your kids are like aware, you know, of what's going on with that sibling, or that they're educated about it, and just know that, you know, this is what we have to do. You know what I mean?
Remember when I had
Of course, it's not your place to take care of her or take care of them, but, you know, we all got to kind of help. You know what I mean?
Does Cadence go to like a STEM school or a
Nope.
different-
No,
Okay,
no,
you
she
have her-
goes to she goes to
That's
she goes
good.
to a public school, but she's in the special program classes. They call it the RISE program in our district, but she also is in classes with the normal gen ed kids
Okay.
too. So she kind of mingles in and out.
I love
So,
that. I love that.
I have one more question. Do you ever feel like you have to cut out, like, or you have to plan special things with Lennox so she doesn't feel like this, you know, overpowers her in the household or anything like that? Or is Lennox just so very aware, you know, of what's going on? Like, or do you just try to cut out special time with Cadence and special time with Lennox and just try to balance it as best you can so that Lennox doesn't get resentful one day that maybe that's, you know, it's affecting her life?
Yeah.
Is that a weird question?
No, it's not. And no, actually we don't, because I think what the difference is, Lennox is the younger sibling. So she kind of came into this. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Or like an older sibling and it's a young, you know what I mean?
That's true.
You know, she kind of came into this. So to her, this is kind of
This is just
her
normal.
Normal.
Her normal,
Yeah.
you know, her normal. And I mean, she never says, you know, anything, you know, that we're concerned of or anything like that. They're both, I would say my kids have everything
They're great
they
kids.
ever wanted and can get everything that they ever wanted from
They don't want for nothing.
yeah, they don't want from nothing. I mean, it comes from many ways. Here, most definitely here. And I'm like, Megan, no, don't come here with that big ass dream house. I know I cuss, but whatever. You know, and it's so funny because she doesn't notice, I think. You know what I mean? And
It's all she knows.
it's all she knows, you know, and she looks at Katie as still like her sister, you know. She's like, oh my God, Katie's just touched me. You know, and she loses her mind, like, she's tickling me. She's talking to me right now.
I've never once heard her say, like, Katie is autistic or Katie is special
To her,
needs.
Katie is Katie.
Yeah, Katie is Katie. That's her sister. And we don't treat them any different. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's Katie and Lennox. It is what it is, you know? So remember when I had Spencer, I was going to tell you that earlier. Remember when I had Spencer and, you know, Katie, it was almost like Spencer was, you know, an extension of me. And she was like so protective of Spencer. She'd go and just stand by her crib and wouldn't move. And if people would go to try to, she'd get pissed if people tried to pick her up. And then she was going and trying to like pick her up.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Oh yeah, when she was itty bitty. And Denesha would be like, oh my God. And I'd be like, just give her a minute. And so I'd be like, Katie, you want to hold the baby?
Amber Alert.
Thinking she's gonna drop her.
Sorry, guys.
Been getting a lot of those lately.
I got one at 4 o'clock this morning about someone.
That was so good, sister. Thank you so much for coming to visit us.
Before we wrap this up, I do want to know if you have any advice for someone who doesn't have a support system or who doesn't know where to start when it comes to their kids who have, you know, special.
Like, where can they get resources at, sister?
I think one place that I have looked before, and they have like local resources that you can also go on there is Autism Speaks. That's a really good resource. And then I think a lot of resources also comes from like your pediatrician, your schools. You know, if you have that type of, if your kids are in daycare, I would seek maybe more like resources from maybe the pediatricians. Autism Speaks, like I said, is a really good one. And I think just like, it's hard when you don't have support. And I hate that if someone does not have support. You know, I hate that for that person.
Find your tribe.
But yeah, you have to. So I think one of the best places where you can get resources is Autism Speaks.
Like, and when you were talking about schools and how she goes to a public school, what are things that you look for when, you know, checking out those schools? Because some people may not know, like, is it a good school district? Like, do they offer these kind of programs?
Right.
So what are...
I think one of the main things you need to look for is I always like to have conversations with the special services. So it'll be like the special services. I don't think they call it special needs services, but it's special services. And just kind of see like how they kind of, I'm trying to think of a word. Just
like,
kind of how
like their curriculum.
Their curriculum, yes, there it is. Their curriculum. And
Probably
just
accommodations.
their accommodations, their curriculum, and how they support. Because what I will say, the school district that we are in is amazing. Probably one of the best for kids with special needs in Oklahoma. It is really amazing. I have no concerns with this school district. So I think that's one of the best things to do too, is just make sure, like, just like any other school, any other child that would go
Make
to
sure
school,
the
you know,
school
make sure it's a
fits your
good
kid.
fit. The curriculum, the accommodations, they can support your child's needs. So
Yeah, and even being more vocal for your kids.
yes.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
have to understand too that you as the parent and your family is going to be the biggest advocate for
Yeah.
your child, especially a child with special needs.
Because every year at the beginning of the school year has that questionnaire. Is there anything specific we need to know about your child? I'm sitting there writing paragraphs like, hey, this is my, like, you know, she is very opinionated, like, you know, but
I never know. Yeah.
I want them to know that because I don't want them to, like, you know, I tell them about Maya's neuro, because they kind of want to see where they could, you know, help fit in and stuff. And so that's really, really important, I think.
Yeah.
It is. It's very important. So
I'm going to close this out.
Yeah, this is such a good episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Got Our Back Podcast. Follow us on Got Our Back at Got Our Back Podcast.
Inspired by Carrie.
Mrs. Maria Shelton.
Megs Unfiltered.
And hey, what is yours?
Yeah.
Do you know your Instagram?
She's
Your TikTok.
private.
Oh, we're gonna linger.
Denesha Nicole. It's Denesha Nicole.
yeah, Denesha Nicole.
What
Yes.
I've never been asked that before.
Well, now you know.